Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. And today's video is actually going to cover exactly what it's supposed to in terms of the next set of the Tower of God walk up, and this is from episode 141 to episode 150. Now there's a lot of lore and things like that there which you're going to get hints at, and a little bit of things that are crazy that are going to be mentioned. And you should understand that, as I said, Baam took a massive nerf coming to this point. He was actually stronger on floor number 20 with just his Shinsu power, and he was even stronger during the workshop battle during the start of that arc, but he was weaker once the arc kicked off completely. So even though he had this massive growth spur out of nowhere, and then his growth spur shrunk out of nowhere as well, we have to understand that there's probably something in play, and we might get a hint at this here later on in the story, why Baam is super powerful and super weak all of a sudden at the same time. So we kick off episode 141 with the arrival of Heem, Sweet and Sour. We get Arcraptor, Miseng and Prince. Now Arcraptor and Miseng play a very important part in the Hell Train saga. Arcraptor, Prince, Wagnan and Miseng play a very important part in the Hell Train. Their team is slightly divided, and then we see Beta is in there and he's fighting the Guardian. We see that Team Sweet and Sour went up and they spoke to Crocodile, and they said that they're going to need help and that Casino is on this level. Now they are personally after Casino because Casino has the remainder of the devil within him that they need to revive Ilma or Huriang. We then see Arcraptor fire a shot at the Guardian to help with their defense. And we see that everybody is looking at Team Sweet and Sour. And we see that Beta basically explains that the three of them won't be of any help. And meanwhile, they've actually had a massive power up. And we see Miseng uses the flower from Vadi, and she uses her observer, and she analyzes the Guardian, and she finds that he's being projected by the door, and basically transmits the information to Arcraptor, who's actually behaving as a spear bearer, and they give a shot to the door and it affects the Guardian instantly. And we see that once they see it, they all start going in together and they all start attacking to destroy the door. Once they do it, the Guardian is out of the way, and that is it for the whole section. We then see that Prince is ultra cocky, and Prince has a right to be ultra cocky. He has improved so drastically that it makes a difference. We see that Ran doesn't really get along with Team Sweet and Sour. We see that Aguero Agnes is ahead of everybody else, and that everybody else is heading straight up to the platform. They're going to confront Rachel directly, and that's where episode 141 ends. Now there's a lot to go down in this chapter. There's the whole craziness of the overloading thorn, the hostage situation, the plan, and we see that Daniel says just take the guide as a hostage and move. We then see that Baam is pulling more and more power out of the thorn and is using it more uncontrollably. He's not limiting himself. And we see that Daniel says, keep your guard up. If the Slayer Omni comes at you, this isn't going to be an easy fight. We then see that Baam wrecks the metal fish the moment it gets in his way, and then we see that he uses multiple bang at the same time, and basically Angel thinks that a metal fish will defeat it. We then see a weird splash of Shinsu around the thorn, and at that moment we see Prince is introducing himself to the rest of the guys who they just met up with. That's AKA and his team. And Ran is just basically insulting Arkraptor and Missing at the same time. And we see that Ryan is looking at them and he's shocked that they've improved so much. And we see that they explain that Khun has gotten way stronger than he used to be. And at that moment, we see Balm launch an assault that looks like it has its own life. It's actually copying the move that Daniel used. And it instantly whacks out all of the metal fish. And they start moving really erratic. At that point, we see that AKA and the rest of them arrive there, and AKA sees Daniel, and then Daniel gets really annoyed and he decides to destroy everything on his way up. At this point, we see everybody is on the platform and getting ready to board, and all of a sudden the administrator's door opens and we see Khun and Wagnan walk out. That's where episode 142 ends. Now Khun is there to kill Rachel. Wagnan is there to capture Cassino. They're also there with Iwa, who is definitely going to be another crazy wild card to this whole situation. And we see that everybody is wondering how in the world they managed to get up where they were. And we see that Khun says it's been a while. Then we see that Khun found a way to circumvent everything, and he managed to use the administrator's elevator by destroying it and then coming up because there wasn't a guardian to protect it like there should be. Since that was the case, he managed to get up here quite easily, and he just used his lighthouse as an elevator in that situation. That's how we got here. We then see that Poro says that that is a violation of the rules, and he says, well, if you all didn't break the rules first, the guardians would have been around to stop us. We then see that Yua and Wagnan are going to take on Cassino, and they decide to challenge him, at which point we back at the point where Daniel, Poro, and AKA are talking to each other, and basically Daniel says something. I'm not even going to go through it exactly. And then we see that Daniel is going to bring back the guy who they sealed on the train because he has a possibility of bringing back Rowena. And then we see Daniel launches a crazy attack and he breaks all the stairs so that they can't move up. But Balm can still move. Remember, Balm can fly. He's a very rare regular who can fly with Shinsu. We then see the fight switches over to Wagnan and Cassino fighting each other. We then see that the Mad Dog decides to sit on the side and watch how the fight goes. And we see Wagnan throws a Shinsu bomb at Cassino, which behaves irrationally, and when it hits him, it actually makes a heavy hit. And he realizes that it's not enough to actually take him down with a single hit. And we see that Rachel is worried when she notices that there's a noise coming from inside Cassino, and that is because it's an antimatter Shinsu bomb, which is actually destroying the matter that makes up the devil to destabilize Cassino. And then we see that Khun basically confronts Rachel, and that is where episode 143 ends, and we get on to 144. We We then see that Kun calls her sly woman, and after that we see Rachel looks back, and basically they start their back and forth with their comments, and we see that Bam is still chasing after Daniel as fast as he possibly can. Then we see that Rachel decides to start attacking Kun, and then we see Wagner in the classic controlling the Shinsu antimatter bomb, and he explains that it's not ordinary Shinsu bombs, it's a special Shinsu bomb made just for him for the workshop for their special technology. And he explains that they have Masofi back with them, and she's been helping them with antimatter bomb, which is meant to destroy the living devil within him, and they can use it to actually bring him down and take the devil back to Hurrian. And we see that the antimatter Shinsu bombs that Wagner is controlling will actually destroy his own body within a year. And there is something to note: he should be sickly and he should be weakening because of what he's using. And once he gets uses the bomb on Casanova again, we then see that Yua fires a flame at him, and using the flame and the Shinsu bomb at the same time, they're actually causing more damage to him than would normally be done. And we then see that he finally unleashes his devil. And we see that at this point Wagner decides he's going to pull a different bomb, and he starts using it, and this bomb is something different. The moment it hits, it comes through the floor, and we see that it's a combination attack with Iwa, and the Seer just blasts him from the bottom. We then see Rachel vs Kun, and it's a light bearer versus light bearer fight, so it's quite crazy. So she attacks with her compressed lighthouse, and she thinks that that defeated Kun, and Kun just slices it apart with his white heavenly mirror. And we see Kun basically gives her a backhanded comment saying he never expected her to use a compression skill I get there, and it would have worked on him if it weren't for the fact that he had such a good knife. And he basically says, is that all that she's prepared? And he basically is like, that, so you haven't really changed, you can't do anything on your own. And as this here is happening, we see that Bam arrives on the level, and he instantly focuses on Rachel, going blind about everything else, and that is where episode 144 ends. We get on to episode 145. So things are heating up. We finally get Bam reuniting with Rachel after all that time, and we see that Bam focuses directly on her and is basically going straight for Rachel. We then see at the bottom that AKA defended everybody, and we see that AKA doesn't identify with the gender. He says it's not Mrs., it's AKA Williams. And then we see that the staircase is totally cut off. They don't know what they're going to do to get up, at which point we see that everybody's looking over at Bam, and Kun is really upset because with Bam there, he can't kill Rachel in front of Bam because Bam might just go off against him. We then see that everybody is in a motion, and Yuraha is heading up to the express. We then see Bam confronts Rachel, and he's thinking about what to say, and he's thinking about asking her why she pushed him into that hole. And we see that Rachel actually breaks it, and she says, why is Bam still alive? You were supposed to be dead back then, and that like really breaks his heart. And then we see Casino go into an ignition state to and we see that Casino goes into his whole this thing about the fact that Masofi did it for them, and we see that he has his own ideas now and that things are crazy in his head. And we see that he intends to wake Huriang up one day, but not right away. he needs this power to do what he wants to do so that he can get the power he wants. And you see that he releases Huriang's devil. We then see that Daniel is playing some crazy stuff, and he explains they're going to use the navigator to get on the train once the doors open, and that's where episode 145 ends. Now 146, 147, 148 are all crazy episodes, and they are really important to the continuity of the story. So we see Bam expresses why did she say that there, what's going on. And we see Bam expresses that he had faith in Rachel. That's why he came all the way here. He wanted to hear what she said. And we see that most of Team Fug are just watching what's playing out between Rachel and Bam. And then we see Cassino has double ignition at this point, both devils on at the same time. And we see that he tries to use his power, and that it's really dangerous, and that would destroy a person's body completely, and it's tremendous in terms of power. Then we see Traveler scream that he shouldn't be doing that. His power is still unstable. He still needs time to make the power more perfect. And when Wagner hears that, he realizes that he's still not at full power, and this is their chance. No matter what, they have to stop him here. We then see Boro and the rest of them are all wondering what they're going to do, at which point we see Beta decides to fly up to the top and meet up with Cassino because he needs to revive Ilma as well. And we see that Daniel wants to really get out of there because of Bam. If Bam goes any more crazy, things can get really dangerous because Bam hasn't yet gone all out. And then we see Rachel says that she's here to accomplish something, and it's much more important than Bam. Now, ironically enough, she's here to accomplish the same destiny that's set for Bam. We know it is Bam's destiny because everything basically points to it from Alan and her whole story. We know that even on the first floor, she was told she wasn't the one who was accepted by the tower. So it isn't her destiny to be in the tower to start with. So all of this doesn't belong to her. She's trying to steal Bam's destiny. It's kind of a crazy thing, and this is their story basically. So we then see Bam goes a little bit crazy, and we see that Bam starts to accept more power from the Thorn. And we see Yuraha decides to put her ticket in, and that is where things go. And that is where episode 146 ends. We'll go into episode 147. Now, Bam isn't even at the maximum of his power. Just for, by the way, if he ignited the Thorn, that would go insane. I think it must probably kill all of the members of Team Fug instantly. None of them would even be able to stand up to him. If he ignited it against White, I think White's primary core would be dead instantly against him. That's how bad it is when the Thorn is fully active. We then see Bam fully activate the Thorn's power, using it at full power. It's not ignited. And we see the moment that Yuraha starts moving in, we see Daniel say they need to move the navigator right away, otherwise they won't be able to complete their task. We then see Cassino is really in a bad situation after getting blasted by all those Shinsu bombs, and Bam is also in a crazy situation. We then see that Beta arrives at the top and he sees everything that's going down. We see that Bam is being consumed by the power from the Thorn, and then we see that everybody else is starting to move and getting crazy. And we see Daniel decides he's going to try and help out with getting everybody up onto the navigator and into the ship. We then see that Angel decides to help Cassino. And we see that Kun can't do what he wants to do because Bam is here, because he can't just kill Rachel in front of him, as I said before. Then we see Bam get into the fight instantly as he's trying to move through, and he takes down Daniel with a single hit, and it's such a crushing hit that Daniel is just about done. And we see that that is where Bam is like in a real angry mode, and he says, Rachel, you're not going anywhere, and he just basically stops there. That's where 147 ends. Bam is crazy powerful. If he pushes it any further, he most probably could have killed him, as I'm saying. We then see Kun start screaming at Bam that he needs to get under control. And we see Bam tells Rachel that she's going with him and that he's going to take her back to where they came from. And then we see that the Mad Dog decides to attack Bam, at which point Bam counters him and he strikes him quite quickly and heavily. And we see that Daniel is still alive, and he explains that both his legs are totally broken from that single hit that he took. Just the single hit that he suffered bust him completely like that. It's crazy, it's monstrous. He would have killed a normal person. And as the chair is going down, we see that the Mad Dog gets a few hits from him, and he says that's one heavy punch. And in a few seconds, things are still going even more crazy. We see Daniel decides to do something even more insane. And we see that they're all getting ready to jump on the navigator to get out of the way. We see Bam versus the Mad Dog. And we see that the Thorn is basically talking to Bam and telling him that this is only part of the power and that he wants more. And we see that after a few hits, Bam hits even higher heights and he sends the Mad Dog flying. We see Rachel get super upset because it's showing that he has the potential to use such a crazy weapon even past its limits. And we see that even the Mad Dog says if he doesn't go all out, Bam will kill him, and that's just how he is right now. And then we see that everybody on Team Fug starts running for the navigator. We see that Rachel uses another compressed lighthouse against Kun. We see that Wagner and Iwa try to go crazy with their combinations to try and catch Casino. Then we see that the Mad Dog is seeing how crazy Bam Shinsu resistance is because he tried to use that, and basically that Bam is invincible right now with the Thorn out as it is. We then see Rachel is starting to get away with navigator, and we see Bam head straight to destroy the navigator and get them down, at which point Rachel blocks his attack, and at that point she pulls another one of her classic Rachel's, pushing him down just like she did in the past, and Bam is back in the situation that it started off with, and that is where 149 ends. So we have the whole repeat of what happened in season 1, Bam being betrayed. We see Bam falling, and she says exactly what she said like the last time, sorry Bam, and then she gives another story, and we see Bam's whole consciousness comes back to him, as he's asking why did you do this here. Then we see everybody from Team Fug gets onto the train, and we see Kun and Wagnan and all of them are discussing something. They're wondering what they're going to do, and we see Bam goes back into his memory, remembering his times with Rachel. We see that Rachel most probably was blocking Bam's path to the light, and that's most probably what she's been doing this whole time. We then see that Wagner and Kun were worried about Bam, and we see that Beta manages to catch him. And then we see that the rest of Team Sweet and Sour along with Ran are there, and they come up with something at the last minute. And we see that Ran is pulling them up, and at the last second they fire a shot at Team Fug, which just fires straight into the train. It just leaves a cut on Rachel's face, and we see that Kun basically says this isn't over, they'll meet again at a higher place. Then we see Bam is out completely, and that is where episode 150 ends. Now this is by far one of my favorite parts. My next favorite is actually where Bam and White fight, which is in about another 50 chapters or so from this point. I think it's 50 chapters or so, the Slayer nominee competition. I know they have a little mini fight in the next 10 episodes, and within the next 20 episodes that fight ends, and then Bam is moving around the train, so is White, and a whole lot of other stories erupt around it. Then I know they have their Dollar Show game, which carries on for about 20 episodes, and then we have the Dollar Show finale, which is where Bam meets up with Yuri again and all of that craziness. But overall in this section, we know that Rachel is up to something. We know that there's something that she needs to do that's super important. We know she's not meant to be here for that whole reason, and that it was the other person who was chosen because of what happened in season 1. Hiron's words are quite clear. She isn't the one who the tower chose. The one who was meant to be there was Bam. So we know it's Bam's destiny from the get-go. All of this is basically things that we have highlighted for us, and things are only going to get more crazy as the story progresses. So I hope that you all did enjoy, because I will catch you all in the next Tower of God video.